How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the Blue Shifting, and welcome back to Chaos Edge. So we're kind of doing our redux, go back into starting playthrough. Last episode, I kind of thought we would be launching into the new path, but there were so many new delusions that we were able to explore, plus some of like the door opening choices that were made, that I kind of just like bumbled my way through, like just making choices as I go. I'm not sure what any of it will mean. I got hints of what it might mean, but I don't really know how it'll translate in the end. And now we're just kind of continuing on. There were just so many delusions that it took a while, so we're kind of still moving forward. I'm hoping that this time we'll be able to get to the start of the next route, of the route we're going to do, our first route, whatever it'll be. But I'm really not too sure because I'm not sure how many more delusions we're going to have between here and there. So we'll find out. But while I got your attention, real quick, just heads up. This will be the last video I'm going to post for a while, at least publicly. See, I'm going to be on vacation, and unfortunately, since I don't have just overwhelming buckets of free time, I can't just pre-record a whole bunch of content to have come out while I'm gone. It's just not going to happen. So this is pretty much the last thing I'm going to be making before I depart. I'm technically already gone by the time this does go up because I am pre-recording at least a little bit, but needless to say, I'm not going to record while I'm gone, and that's okay. We're going to just move along with it and deal with it as we go, and ultimately, it's going to be fun. I think it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out, but, I'll come back in a couple weeks, and I will be jumping right back into things, so I hope you don't mind. There's a lot of good content to watch. If you like this series and you're looking for something to watch in the meantime, there's a lot of good backlog stuff. There's some great smaller visual novels that I've covered that just haven't gotten a lot of attention, but you might find interesting. A great one of the highest ones I would recommend would actually be Seabed. It has a very psychological mystery, like kind of love story. Very, very powerful. One of my favorite visual novels of all time, and it was made by a very, very small team. So it has that kind of indie feel, because it is made by a very small group of people who were kind of making their own visual novel. I don't know if it was their first, but it's probably their most commercially successful of the projects they've had. Very good, very good. And then there's also plenty of other ones. You got some main name ones like Katawa Sojo, and I also do some challenge runs and stuff like through Knights of the Republic 1 and 2. That's probably some of my personal favorite video content I've ever made, but it didn't get much attention at all because it's very different from what I normally make. Still, if you feel kindness in your heart and you're looking for something to watch, please check it out. I'd love to know what you think of it. Anyway, we're going to do into the skipping as soon as we can. I got to decide if I want to do a delusion here or not. I think I will. We'll have to see. But I don't even remember which one I did. This might have been one of the ones I did that was negative because I was like, I should probably do a negative at some point. So I think I'll do a positive one here. And then we'll move on from there. I'll get back into the skip mode once we do. And we'll just try and ride this ride out as long as we can. But yeah, thank you so much for being here. Let's get started, shall we? Okay, so it looks like the button's E. I couldn't remember what it was for a second, but okay. All right, so let's go ahead. I don't know if this is what I did last time, but it'll do. Should have to realize it's Kozufi. She was extremely petite, possibly even more so than Nanami. She looked fairly timid, emulating the moe gets bullied all the time archetype. If I had to choose, she's probably around mid-tier when it came to 3D girls. For some reason, she was looking down the floor, her eyes filled with tears. Let's see. Oh, I did see that one. Oh, could she be here to help me? Okay, so there's choices here. So I had seen that delusion before, but now it's doing this. Maybe. Sure. Yes. This transfer student must be a professional exorcist. I have no idea what does this even mean? No, I'm not sure about a professional exorcist. She acts frail, but that's all it is, an act. She must be here to kill Rimi. No, I don't think so. Though she would, she potentially would. The two of them should just kill each other. Oh no, definitely not. Alright, so now it's just skipping on. Okay, so I don't know what that meant. We'll find out! This is the phone call that has the weird sound that basically now we know is the sound that the Noah 2 makes when it's defending itself. So what would be the positive here? I guess I'll go ahead and listen to it.
あのさ、私だけど、別にあんたの声が聞きたいから電話したわけじゃないんだからね。
Is that Senna?
なんとなく暇だったからとかその程度の理由だから、わかった？
Yeah, is that Senna? That sounds like Senna.
でもクラスが別になって最近話す機会が少なくなったね。あんた、私のことどう思ってるわけ？
What?
例えばさ、私に告ってみようとか思わないわけ？
What? Can you imagine someone actually asking you that question? I'd be like, what would you even do with that? Because even if the answer is yes, I'd be like, why would you feel comfortable telling them that? I'd be like, what? And if it was no, I'd be like, oh gosh, what do I say?
別にあんたに告られたからって私は嬉しくもなんともないんだから。
You know, she's also channeling, like, I know it sounds very tsundere, but it actually reminds me a lot of Kurisu. Like, the way they write Kurisu's voice lines is very much like this.
そもそも私が OK する保証は万に一つぐらいしかないんだし。でもさ、行動しなくちゃ何も始まらないって思わない？とにかくあんたは試しに告ってみること。わかった？
Oh man, I would have killed for a girl who I like to be this direct with me. Oh, that would have been amazing.
じゃあ、今日の放課後、伝説の木の下で待ってるから。
Under the Tree of Legends.
急いで来なさいよ。来なかったら承知しないんだからね。
That was lovely. I mean, it could happen. JK, I'm fetching a wish though. There was no Tree of Legends or whatever the fetch of this school. Who was this tsundere supposed to be anyway, Lamau? Her personality settings were pretty lackluster. Should have at least made her more of Sierra-tan. This wasn't the time to be indulging my delusion, was it? Feeling empty inside, I sighed and decided to listen to the actual voice message. I examined my surroundings, making sure the demon girl wasn't there, then put the phone up to my ear. That horrible song. That song is gonna haunt my dreams, because that song, like, it's so creepy. Okay, here we go. Now we're at the store. There's no one here. I don't remember this one at all. Oh, is this right before, like, the whole, when everyone in Shibuya seemed to vanish and we meet Shogun for the first time? Alright, we haven't done a negative one in a while. Let's try one. No one came out. For some reason, I had a bad feeling about this. This wasn't normal. Maybe I'd somehow managed to stumble into something completely unreal. While still standing in front of the counter, I casually looked outside the store. Beyond the automatic glass doors was the street where not a single person was walking. Then I saw a silhouette hiding in the shadows from the apartment complex across the street.
Huh?
The form hid itself right after I saw it, but I had already seen it clearly. In the silhouette's hand was an object that resembled a long black cylinder. Was that a sniper rifle? Does this mean that the silhouette was a member of the riot police, or maybe the SAT? That was why I couldn't see any customers or employees. The police had blocked off the area. But why the heck would they do that? Having thought that, I started freaking out. I quickly looked around the store, then ducked behind the shelf. Could this be... Was there a police standoff happening right now at this very store? A criminal who had taken the store employee hostage and barricaded himself in the back. And that criminal might be the true NewGen culprit. Oh gosh, I sank down to the floor and cradled my head in my hands. Why had I let myself go somewhere so dangerous? Wait, no, this wasn't my fault. The police were the police. If they were blocking off the area, then they should have stopped me before I went to the convenience store. It was their fault. Was there any way I could escape? If I stayed here, they'd take me hostage too. Fortunately, I hadn't run into the culprit yet. If he was hiding in the back room, I should get out now while I still can. I was so scared my knees felt like they were about to give out. It was extremely difficult to even stay upright. Even so, I kept myself low to the ground and slowly shuffled toward the automatic doors. It began with a shout so cliche you wouldn't even hear it on the modern-day detective shows. From outside the store, a policeman started shouting through a megaphone. It startled me so bad that I hid behind the shelf again. What an incredibly stereotypical way to call out to them. Didn't they have any negotiator or something? 30 seconds? That was practically nothing.
それまでに投降するんだ。でなければこちらも強行手段に出る。
Well, they wanted to come in by force. What were they trying to put the hostages in danger? If you did that in the modern day Japan, the public and mass media would eat you alive. What the heck were the police thinking? I stayed crouched down on the floor and held my breath. My heart was pounding insanely fast. It felt like my chest was about to burst. If the police were going to force their way into the store, the whole place would become a war zone. I'd be caught right in the crossfire whether I wanted to or not. I'd get hit by a stray bullet and die right there. Please, no. I couldn't see what the criminal was doing. The entire store was silent. I was getting angry. What the heck was the criminal doing? Hurry up and surrender already, otherwise I'd get caught up in this too. I gingerly peeked out from behind the shelf and looked outside once more, and what I saw shocked me to my core. There were several SAT snipers in plain view of me, all of which were training their sniper rifles right at the store. I frantically jerked my head back behind cover. The police were going to shoot the criminal to death. Would they be able to get away with something like that in Japan? I can't believe it.
あと10秒。
This couldn't be happening. Give me a break. My eyes darted around the room restlessly until suddenly they settled on my hand.
Huh?
For some reason, my hand was a knife. And the blade was soaked in red. It was blood. I was confused. How long have I had this knife in my hand? Where did I even get it? I heard someone groaning close by. An employee was lying on the floor. He was barely bleary-looking guy like a college student. His eyes were tied behind his back and his mouth was covered in duct tape. He was looking at me. His eyes were stricken with fear. Why are you looking at me? Don't look at me like that. You're looking at me like I'm a criminal. Wait. Was I the criminal? No, it wasn't me. I had nothing to do. I hadn't done anything.
時間だ。これから我々は君を射殺する。
This wasn't happening.
狙撃部隊用意。
This wasn't happening.
せー。
This wasn't happening! Oh boy. Yeah, the police would never do that. Like, come on, fire? Really? Wasn't the standoff was a battle straight out of a Shingoku period or something? Several minutes had passed while I was having my delusion. There's still no sign of any employees. I wanted to believe that the cashier was just taking a nap, so I waited for another 5 minutes. But while I waited, no employee showed up, nor did any customer enter the store. There wasn't even as much as a sound. Alright, back to there. Alright, what's this one? Yeah, so this is where I think we see an interaction between Rimi and Kozupi happen. Did we do positive or negative last time? I should work some courage and act natural. Okay, so we must have done neutral and negative last time.
おはよう、咲畑さん。
Alright, first contact went well. But just when I started to feel relieved, Rimi tilted her head to the side with a frown.
ねえタク、なんで急に妙竹林の呼び方するの？
妙竹林。
咲畑さんなんてなんだか他人行儀。今までみたいに呼んでよ。
Like I normally did, but I didn't even know what that was.
じゃあ、リミ。
お、なんだいタク。
Aw,
Yeah.
that's kinda cute though.
特に何もないけど。
じゃあ私から一言。
I like how this is so far, it's just a daydream of him having a conversation with a girl. Now, a girl he's kind of terrified of, sure, but still. Rimi cleared her throat, looked around the room, and then brought her face close to mine.
タクは大地みたいになっちゃダメだよ。ああいう女たらしはいつかひどい目に遭うに決まってるから。
あ、うん。
Yeah.
肝に銘じておくよ。
I think we're safe there. I don't see Taku being given that option.
タクのそういう素直なところ、私好きだな。
Aw, the music was sweet. She liked something about me, huh? In other words, from Rimi's POV, I was the honest, neutral character archetype?
そもそも私、大臣のことで一つだけどうしても許せないことがあるんだよね。 あれだけあちこちの女子に声かけてるのに、私には全く見向きもしないってこと。
Oh.
ひどいと思わない？
え、三角くんに口説かれたいの？
I guess that wasn't surprising. He's a total alpha in terms of looks, and he was fun to talk to. Even if you stuck him with a penalty for being a playboy, he'd probably still the type any girl would go out with. But despite what I thought she was talking about, Rimi frowned and shook her head.
たく、冗談きついよ。大地に口説かれるなんて想像しただけで鳥肌立っちゃう。
Oh, okay. She's wrapping her arms around herself and made a big show of pretending to shiver.
私はノーサンキュー。でもなんていうのかな、女としてのプライドっていうものがあるわけじゃない？
Gotcha. So she's saying this like, I don't want him to hit on me, but it feels like he should have because I'm a girl, and so it makes me wonder if there's something wrong with me, which is like, it feels like stupid logic, but it absolutely makes sense. Like, it's, yeah.
ねえ、タクから見て、私ってどう？魅力ある？
Yeah? You're asking me something that's real hard to answer.
どう？
And it didn't help her that her eyes were twinkling, and she's clearly bursting with anticipation. That's, of course I thought she was attractive, but I take a lot of courage to say out loud.
Me?
Mm.
認めたくないものだな。
Oh, no one likes to admit to them? Is that like one of those internet sayings? Like that was something that was referenced in, short for the full quote, no one likes to admit to them, to the mistakes they've made because of their youth. A quotation from an extremely popular mecha anime series, often followed up with various lines about youth, such as, that's what it is to be young. Wait a minute, is that the same line that is referenced in Steins Gate? Maybe it is.
若さゆえの過ちというものを。あ、
引っかかった。
Rimi smiled triumphantly. Was she actually an otaku? There's no way. I smiled a bitter smile in defeat. But even though the conversation was completely normal, I found myself having a lot of fun. Up until now, I'd almost never had this kind of conversation with a girl before. I didn't know why, but it felt like we clicked pretty well together. Which was why I was able to say what came next so naturally.
リミは魅力的だよ。
Aww, that's very sweet. Rimi exaggeratedly threw her head backwards and her face instantly turned beet red.
面と向かって言われると恥ずかしい。
Aww, okay. That's actually cute. I don't know if we've ever had Rimi in her pose with a blush before. That's a that's a very sweet shot.
でも、ありがとう。タクにそう言ってもらえるとすごく嬉しい。
Aww.
大地に口説かれるより1億兆倍嬉し
Aww.
1億兆なんて桁はないけど。
い。なんとなくニュアンスで分かってよ。それだけスケールの大きい嬉しさってこと。
And sadly, it's over. So that's what it is to be young. If only I could have had that kind of conversation daily. Every day of my life would be fun and fulfilling, and how I saw the world would change completely. Nah, it really isn't. I've had conversations like that. Not quite on that scale, though, of cheesiness, but like, you have frank conversations with people. You tell people who you're associated with, who, even if you do find them attractive, you don't necessarily feel that connection or bond to them. And you still could be like, yeah, I appreciate you, how you look and everything, but it's not like it means anything. It's just one of those things that, you know, you can casually have. It just doesn't feel as formal or as orchestrated as it is in an anime or a visual novel, but you do have these kind of conversations sometimes. And sometimes it's just out of like a sense of just having a chat. Now it can lead to other things, potentially. I definitely have had that happen before, but not quite as storybook as this is, obviously. But at the end of the day, that was just an illusion. Now, me in reality couldn't even make eye contact with Rimi. I just kept my head down, didn't move, and stayed silent. I despised my own cowardice, and so I was hit with a fierce wave of depression.
タク？
Rimi, who had been silent the entire time, finally called out to me, albeit hesitantly. But I couldn't respond due to how sudden it was. To her, it probably felt like I was ignoring her. In my head, I knew I couldn't keep acting like this, but in the end, I still couldn't get myself to do anything.
大丈夫？
This time I nodded frantically. Probably made me look suspicious.
そう。だったらいいんだ。
Rimi's voice was gentle. I could hardly believe it, but she seemed like she was going to continue patiently being with me, even though I was being silent. Are you okay? Was what she'd said. I felt the sudden urge to ask her something. I wanted to ask, back when we met in front of 107, what did I look like? What did it look like to you? Oh, there they go. Oh, here we go. Conversation with Senna again. Interesting. What did I do with her this time? I think we should do a negative one. We haven't done a negative one with Senna before. I'm pretty sure I did a positive one here, and I remember it being pretty good. But let's try the negative. Or I did nothing. One of the two. I automatically stopped dead in my tracks. What if she got up and attacked me with a D sword right after this very moment? Oh, yeah, that's right. She used one of her... like one of the illusions to lure us because she's like, you saw the sword, right? So she's testing us to see if we could actually observe it. The very thought scared the heck out of me. Giving into my fear, I began to follow Senna's order. I took one step into the train car. But right as I did, I immediately reconsidered. That was exactly what Senna would want me to do. A moth to a flame, a fly to a spider's web. I couldn't do that. How could I waltz right into my own death like that? I should run away. That was a much better idea. From the chain, it was easy to tell this girl had some completely absurd superhuman strength. With just a single twist of her arm, I'd get helplessly pinned to the ground and she'd break my arm right after. And that would be the end of it. She had a D-sword. If I were to be slashed with a sword that thick and gigantic, I would die instantly. This girl was lying in wait for me. She was plotting something. Run away now. I turned on my heel to get off the train. But without me noticing it, the exit had closed. I had only just walked in. I hadn't even been more than a couple seconds, and yet, with no sound and no movement, the door closed all its own. I was petrified. I couldn't figure out what had just happened. When I had the door closed, who closed it? It didn't seem like it had opened and closed automatically, and even if it was an automatic door, surely I would have heard it. Senna was still sitting down in the seat. She hadn't moved a muscle. So she couldn't have been the one to close it. And it obviously couldn't have been me. I hadn't even touched the door. I wondered if there was someone nearby who could be the owner, but I couldn't see anyone outside the window who looked like it. No, whoever closed it didn't matter right now. I shifted my gaze over to the other doorway sitting at the back of the car. It was closed too. I'm trapped. Senna and I were the only ones on the train, but what did that mean? All sorts of negative thoughts flew through my head, and I nearly screamed aloud.
いつまで?
Senna, still glaring at me, of course, spoke up once again.
そこに突っ立っているつもりだ.
I had nowhere to run. My legs trembled. If I was to make some noise, the people outside might notice, but Senna would probably beat me to a pulp before I could escape. For now, it was best to just do what she said without resisting. I resigned myself and went to stand in front of Senna. Okay, so it's just, that's all it was. Oh. But we got a different tick here. What was odd to me, though, was how no one thought it strange that Senna and I were locked in the train. Despite the fact that there were this many people, you'd think that one person would find it weird. No one was even paying attention to the train. Huh. Before I knew it, the door exiting the train opened as silently as when it had closed. I was completely and utterly bewildered. Okay, so yeah, I just had a few different extra lines just because of like the circumstances surrounding it. I'm guessing she never closed it. It was just like one of the delusions. All right, so then this is where Yua kind of corners us at the cafe. I remember I didn't do a delusion here because I was like freaking out about it, but let's see what a positive delusion here is. Oh, I guess I did do a positive one last time. Well, never mind. Oh, wait, here. Great King. Like, it's Senna's dad. The Great King of Terror has something in this city. Okay, so what do we want to do here? Police following. Maybe this one I stay neutral on? I don't remember. Let's try a positive one. The Great King of Terror has something in this city. No, I had to be imagining things. There was no way the police would suspect me of anything. I wasn't a murderer. I wouldn't hurt a fly. Forget that for now. Just take a break for a little bit longer. My chest still hadn't stopped pounding. For no particular reason, I looked up at the night sky as my shallow breathing continued. I couldn't see any stars. The glaring artificial light that shone above me above the ground cast a thin veil across the Shibuya sky. It blocked out even the faintest light of the stars that had traveled for decades, for centuries to get here, transforming the night sky into a flat, emotionless blackness. What a piece of crap sky. But it was normal for Shibuya. For someone living in Shibuya, this sky was my sky. That's sad. I grew up with really good star sights. I returned my gaze to the policeman from earlier, and I jumped. The policeman was coming toward me. I had to avoid making eye contact. I stood up and turned my eyes to the road stretching under the overpass. The footsteps were getting closer and closer. I prayed from the bottom of my heart that they would pass me by. But...
Kimi!
A voice called out, one that was clearly directed at me.
ちょっといいか?
My heartbeat, which had only just started to calm down, began to violently pound in my chest once more.
すいません。急いでるんで。
そうは見えないな。
What reason could this cop have possibly had to talking to me? I started putting a list together inside my head. 1, because I'm alone at night in an unusual place. 2, because I look suspicious. 3, because they're just questioning people at random. 4, because the police think I'm a suspect for the NewGen case.
身分を証明するもの。そうだな。生徒手帳を見せてくれないか?
Dang it, I didn't have time for this. I needed to hurry and hide somewhere less conspicuous. If I didn't, you would find me again. But if I ran away from the cops, I could get arrested for obstruction of justice. Not only that, but if they were investigating me because of reason number 4, then bolting would put me in an even worse position. Regardless of the circumstances, I had to get past this cop, and I had to do it fast. With no other options, I took my student handbook out from inside my uniform pocket and handed it to the officer. The officer took it and flipped it open to check my name and photo. Immediately after, something changed in his face. His expression stiffened. What? What was up with him? Did my name really warrant that kind of reaction? Maybe I really am the NewGen suspect. The police were mistaken. I hadn't done anything. Yua made up her mind and decided that I was the NewGen criminal. She said I just wasn't aware of it. That couldn't be true. I didn't sleepwalk. I didn't have multiple personalities. Stop screwing with my head.
ありがとう。
To my surprise, the police officer readily returned my handbook to me. He then quickly turned back around and headed toward the park, almost as if running away. How he was acting spoke far louder than words. I had a terrible feeling about this. Did they actually suspect me? I stared at the officer's back, frozen. Then the policeman suddenly gave a light bow to the man sitting at the bench, or at least that's what it looked like. Something's off. Was it just my imagination? I knew for a fact that he didn't look at the man on the bench. But I couldn't figure out if he'd actually bowed to him or if it just looked like he had. The policeman left the park directly after that. The man on the bench looked like he was still messaging with his cell phone. Looked like, being the key words. It didn't even look like his fingers were moving. I couldn't see him clearly because of the darkness. Normally, the cell phone screen would be glowing, but this one he was holding was completely dark. Something's really off here. I looked around to check on everyone else in the park. One of the homeless people was slouching on the ground at the base of a large tree in a spot that was far removed from the others. He didn't move in the slightest. All he did was hold up a strange sign, his face staring down at the ground. The 3 or so homeless people squatting in front of a small hut covered by a blue tarp didn't seem to have much of a conversation. They were just sitting around in a circle. One of them had their hand over their mouth. It almost seemed like they were doing it deliberately, like they were trying to cover their mouth with their hand or collar or something, or at least that's what it would look like. I don't know what exactly, but something feels off. There was a strange sense of tension seizing the air. Granted, it could have been my imagination, but... Hold on. Was it possible everyone was an undercover cop? That delusion floated up in the top of my head and I shuddered. I frantically told myself that it was nothing more than that, a delusion. But even if it was, I didn't want to stay here any longer. Time to run. I broke into a sprint. I ran across the overpass and headed for the stairs, looking down to the Mejidori and stopped right in front of them and whipped around to look behind me. The man on the bench was getting up. None of the other people moved. His body turned toward me, but his head was facing sideways. He was making his way toward me. He seemed to be walking a little faster than someone normally would. He was chasing me. That man was a detective. His build was unusually bulky. I didn't even know what his job could be otherwise. I couldn't figure out anything out from his appearance alone. I can't tell if he's a detective from just that. No, he had to be one. There's no way he wasn't one. He was tailing me. I couldn't stay here. I bolted down the stairs. Shoot, shoot, shoot. Now it wasn't just Yua that was after me, there was the police too. And I hadn't done anything wrong. I hadn't done anything at all. Now skipping, I'm guessing. Should I just tell them I was innocent? But even if I did, I couldn't get away from the fact that I was literally running away from the police right now. Besides, I was sure that the police would find some way to pin it on me regardless. They would never believe an otaku freak like me. I didn't have time to think about what would happen next. For now, I just needed to get away from Yua and the police. That was the sole thought occupying my mind. There we go. Alright, so again, let's try and do a positive one, because last time we did one with her, it was negative. Oh, I did a positive one last time there too. Oh well. Or maybe it doesn't matter. I think it might be one of those scenes where it acts like it's gonna happen, but it's too plot relevant to not let it happen. Um. Okay, so looks like, it's hard for me to tell for sure, but it looks like this is him talking about like blind spots and like in class they're talking about like he's thinking about what Senna said about like controlling perspectives of people. Let's try a negative one. Oh, I think we did a positive one for this one, but that's where we had the horror encounter in the hallway with like the notebooks and everything. Yeah. I left the classroom and started heading toward the school entrance. Partway there, I changed my mind and instead turned and headed toward the building where the first year classrooms were located. I figured it might be a better idea to avoid the entrance I usually took. I couldn't rule out the possibility that Shogun and Yua were lying in wait for me to ambush me. So I opted to leave using a different route. I made my way to the first year building via the breezeway. The final bell had already rung a little bit ago, so while the students of the cleaning duty or doing club crap were still around, basically everyone who'd opted to go straight home had already had. School always felt somewhat lonely, even wistfully after the final bell rang. No matter where I went, it always felt the same way, whether they were ancient buildings made out of wood or new structures like Suime. Well, not that I'd ever set foot in any wooden school buildings or anything other than Eroge. Regardless, school's interior was simmering under a thick veil of silence. I walked quickly down the hall, surrounded by that silence, and tried my best to keep my footsteps as quiet as possible. The setting sun shining through the window warned me. Typically, I kept my head low while I walked, but since there weren't any other students, I opted to keep my eyes focused on what was ahead of me. This allowed me a chance to survey my environment, ensuring there was no suspicious figures looking about. I heard something. A sound. What was that? I felt like I've heard it before. Immediately after I heard it, I saw something cross the hallway of the first year building in front of me. It was an empty wheelchair. The video of the group dive I'd watched yesterday resurfaced in my mind, and a chill ran down my spine, and I froze. The wheelchair finished crossing the hallway, and then it disappeared from sight. That's terrifying. Oh gosh. And right after it did, I heard an insanely loud sound. Silence settled back on the campus. I took a second to catch my breath, and then I looked in the direction where the sound had come from. What was that just now? Why was there a wheelchair in the school, not to mention one with nobody sitting in it? The crash I'd heard at the end was probably the sound of the wheelchair falling down the stairs, which noise it made. It must have taken a fair deal of damage. It wouldn't surprise me if it had been rendered practically unusable. I quickly looked around me. Rather than being calming, the silence only made the fear skyrocket. I at least knew I couldn't see anyone moving from my current position. However, I felt a gaze. Don't look at me. Oh God, Shogun, had he come here to the school? Why had he come here? Was it me to meet with Yua? Was it to meet with me? I took a step back and nearly toppled over. However, I managed to keep my balance. I was thoroughly creeped out. Was he trying to harass me? Why wasn't he showing his face? He would have been so much more bearable if he just showed himself. I was hit with an intense wave of nausea. I wanted to get out of there as soon as possible. Covering my mouth, I moved back to where I'd come from. I bolted down the stairs and out the building, and I ran to the courtyard with no real destination in mind until I could no longer hold back the urge to vomit. The second I fell to my knees, the entire contents of my stomach began spilling out. I think this definitely happened. It was just like someone dropped their notebook and inside it said, "Whose eyes are those eyes?" and they found a whole pile of them. That's what it was. Oh, now this one I do remember. This is the one I did the positive one. It was very spicy. So let's do a negative one. Destroy what for us? Wait, what are we destroying? Oh. If you let me that CD in return, I'll destroy it for you.
Hi?
Destroy it? Destroy what? That came out of nowhere. I never would have thought Rimi was the type to act like such a DQN. Despite my confusion, Rimi continued to talk very seriously.
その CD を持ってる人は呪われちゃうの。タク、知らなかったでしょ。
Oh.
私の調べた情報によるとね、ニュージェネの被害者はみんなその CD を買った人なの。
Ah.
フェスの予言は CD を買った人にだけ当てはまるフェスの呪いなの。
That couldn't be.
ニュージェネ事件は全部フェスの仕業。
Because of Fez.
急がないと。次に死ぬのはタクだよ。
No. That's pretty fast.
おーい。
Suddenly, it came back to myself. Rimi was waving her hand in front of my face, her eyebrows furrowed in confusion.
どうしたの？急に意識がどこかに飛んじゃってたみたいだけど。
いや、なんでも。
Yeah. What was up with that delusion? Felt like I was gonna piss myself.
その調子だと話聞いてなかったでしょ。
うん。
じゃあもう一回言うけど、私のお気に入り CD を貸すっていうので手を打ってくれないかな。
は？
ねえねえ、いいでしょ？お願いします。この通り。
Aww. Life was a cruel mistress, though I suppose it was my fault for expecting anything. When I agreed to Rimi's proposal, she delightedly struck a victory pose. That sight was so amusing to me that despite the critical situation I was in, I couldn't help but laugh. What's this one? So D swords, and this is where she normally would like stop us from looking at it. Let's see what a positive one here is. I can't remember if I did one here or not. Leaving Rimi to stare at the PC screen with her eyebrows furrowed, I picked up the toy D sword sitting in the corner of my room. I went to stand in the center of my room and brought my sword to my eye level like I was an ESO character. I closed my eyes. I tried to conjure the image of a sword in my mind. I naturally imagined it to be something similar to the beautiful, sinister swords that Senna and Ayase had, each complete with its sharpness that could never sever anything that could sever anything it touched. Interesting. So, like, in this one, his picture of a sword in this image looks different than the sword he actually finds later on. That's interesting. I wonder if that's intentional. Having delusions was my specialty. Or maybe it is the same sword, it just looks really odd because of how light filtered it is. Like, his sword has like an eye on it, but I don't think it was that big. After all, I had all sorts of delusions on a daily basis. If I wanted, I could recreate every single detail both vividly and clearly in my head. Once the image was as precise as it was going to get, I planted my feet and gritted my teeth and tried grasping the sword with the power I now held in my hands. So, like, I talked about how before, like, I felt like I would be a decent candidate to be one of these Gigalomaniacs just because I can have I have a very vivid imagination. It's not at the level he has it by far. Like, so maybe I would fall short still. Granted, it's a storybook, it's a visual novel, it's a story, and it's like telling these things that's kind of beyond like the realm of like what would be considered healthy. But I can have very visual like pictures in my head, but I do have failings. I do fail with the spatial awareness of my like daydreaming. So a good example of this in a practical sense is that if I'm helping somebody move and we're going to move a couch, normally you have to kind of work a couch around to try and get it around a corner or out a doorway or something. It can be a bit challenging. And some people just have a good sense for like the dimensions of an object and how it will best pass through like a tight area. I've never been that great at it. I can tell when we're going to have problems, but I kind of have to trial and error my way through it rather than being able to picture in my mind one of the best paths forward. And I've just seen people who can do it in their mind. Now, maybe people move all the time. Like if they're movers, professional movers, they might be able to learn how to do it like by that way. But I've known people who just live life and they just have this really good ability to kind of look at an object and understand its like dimensions in space and be able to kind of do a picture of model in their head. So maybe my imagination, whilst being very strong, has limits in itself that will make it difficult for me to pull a D sword. Become real, 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 become real. I prayed inside my head, devoting all my thoughts toward that one single wish. What am I holding? What I'm holding is a real D sword. It's not a fake, it's real. I infused my strength and my entire being into the blade. Come on, reveal yourself to me. Grant me salvation, protect me. I slowly opened my eyes. The sword I was holding hadn't changed whatsoever. It was still the same cheap-ass sword.
そりゃそうだよな。
There was no such thing as the evil-eyed-esque psychic power that turned delusions into reality. It was way too chuny. What was I, 5? I felt ashamed to have ever thought I held such a power. Heaving a long sigh, I lowered the sword. But right as I did, I sensed a gaze behind me. I could feel chills on the back of my neck. Goosebumps rose across my entirety of my body. The gaze again. That was a clear sign. A sign that right at this moment, someone was watching me. Don't look at me. I wasn't going to turn around like I'd ever turn around. Huh? Not only had I sensed a presence, but I'd heard a voice as well. Though, to be precise, it hadn't exactly been a voice. It had been closer to a sigh. Don't tell me. I might have made a terrible mistake. I slowly, ever so slowly, turned around. And there was Rimi, staring right at me. So that was it. No wonder the sense of presence had been more intense than usual. Yeah, because you had a person with you. Granted, that only made sense, considering I was just feeling like I was being watched. I was being watched. This was definitely going to get confusing. Oh, had Rimi seen me go full Chunibyo, brandishing a sword and all that from start to finish? I was gonna die from embarrassment. Except, something was off about her. Rimi's brow furrowed and she stared at me without blinking even once. However, it wasn't me she was looking at, but the object I held, the toy D-sword. Why did she look so serious? Felt like she was an entirely different person from the one that had been getting all confused about patents earlier. An unpleasant memory flashed through my mind. Rimi was on my side. She was supposed to be. However, I still hadn't solved the mystery surrounding her. Did Rimi know something about the D-swords? What a gulp, I nervously called out to her.
タク、
Her gaze still fixated on me, Rimi opened her mouth and her voice was stifled, devoid of any and all emotion.
その件だけど
Rimi was my ally, well, wasn't she? She wouldn't betray me like you did, would she? Even if Rimi betrayed me, I'd...
捨てた方がいいと思う。
どうして
My voice nearly cracked. Did Rimi know something after all?
だって
Rimi's gaze finally moved, but this time it landed squarely on my eyes. I hurriedly averted my own. What was she going to say?
だってもう高校生だし。
Rimi suddenly broke into a grin, a very mischievous grin. The abrupt change in demeanor left me speechless.
そりゃ男の子っていくつになってもそういうおもちゃが大好きなんだなってのはなんとなくわかるけど、さすがにそんな大きなおもちゃ一人で部屋で振り回してるのはどうかと思うよ。それが許されるのは小学生までじゃない？
Aw, man.
でもタクの個人的な趣味を私の前で披露してくれたってのはちょっと嬉しいかも。
That's a great positive way to put it on.
私にだけ秘密を教えてくれたみたいで。
What the heck, man? I really got scared for no reason. Oh, now we go back to normal. Oh, another one. Flag trip. Okay. I don't remember this. So it looks like in the conversation she's asking about other girls that we've seen, probably mentioning, like, talking about Ayase and Senna, or like we talked about them. I don't remember what I did here. Let's try a negative one. I was at a loss about what to do, so I opted to subtly examine Rimi's expression. Whoa. She's wearing a completely different outfit here. What is this? She looks like she's wearing business attire, not her school uniform. Huh? What? Rimi had changed clothes in the blink of an eye. She should have been wearing her uniform, but there was no way she could have sneakily changed clothes in the short time I had closed my eyes for, right? I couldn't keep up with such a sudden change.
どうかした？
Rimi tilted her head. She didn't say a word about her sudden change of clothes. What was going on? I don't know, man. Had Rimi not noticed, or was she just playing dumb? Trying not to ogle her, I looked over her new change of clothes. I mean, looks great. Was this her casual outfit? As I hadn't seen her in anything but her uniform before, it felt incredibly invigorating. She was wearing both a denim-esque jacket and miniskirt. Over the knee socks she'd been wearing before were gone. Essentially, her bare legs were on display, her thighs were smooth and voluptuous. And while she was clearly wearing a miniskirt, she was also hugging her knees as she sat, so you could see her. Yeah, there you go, boy. Actually, depending on the angle, it almost looked like she was completely commando. Against my better judgment, my eyes directed themselves toward the V zone of her skirt. I desperately called forth my rational side to suppress my lust. The way she was sitting, it reminded me of some cover of classic moe eroge, titled Free Sister. In the limited edition of its anime adaptation, there was an illustration with the heroine sitting exactly as Rimi was now. I think one of those boxes labeled Free Kittens. That illustration was irresistibly moe. I'd even had it as my PC wallpaper for a while. Was this a delusion, an illusion, or was it legit? Oh, I couldn't stop thinking about what was under Rimi's skirt. My Johnson was starting to make itself very well known. Her body had been giving off a nice scent for a while now, and how should I put it? The texture of her skin combined with her amazing figure? I'll put 2D to shame. Dude, go dunk your head in some ice water or something, man! Was this true power of the third dimension? She seemed very capable of instantly obliterating the values I'd held dear until now, even though I'd never been into 3D, nor had I ever planned to change that, even though I'd only loved 2D characters. Right now, Rimi had enough destructive power to fetching obliterate those lofty values with a single strike. Lofty values.
ねえ、タク。
Interesting. Yeah, like she's just in a different outfit now. What the heck? Surprising no one, Rimi showed no sign of acknowledging her change of outfit, instead just giving me an innocent smile.
私、喉乾いてきちゃった。何か飲み物ある？
My sense of reason on the verge of rupture, I took advantage of the opportunity to get up and head toward the fridge. I peeked inside. I had some half-finished cola, but I drank directly from the bottle, so it probably wouldn't be the best idea to give it to Rimi.
ないなら買ってこようかな。コンビニって深センの駅前にあったよね。
I feel like the lines are the same, she's just in a different outfit now. I felt Rimi stand up behind me.
ちょっと行ってくる。
Yeah, I'm pretty sure like this is exactly how the scene plays out normally. She gave me a big smile, then left without waiting for my response. Left alone with my thoughts, I began to think. What the heck kind of phenomenon was that? I really had been a delusion, huh? Rimi wearing casual clothes, the ISA splitting in two. Had it even been that though? Did I have powers or not? If I did, how could I actively use them? How could I obtain a D-sword? I was still stuck deep inside a maze of questions, unable to do anything but wander around aimlessly. Oh,
ただいま。
and she's back in her normal clothes. Then Rimi, who had only just left, returned, and not only that, but she was wearing her uniform? Now you mean to tell me she's quickly changed while she was outside? Why would she do that?
私、財布持ってくの忘れてた。
Rimi didn't seem to notice my bewilderment, and with a strained laugh, she took her wallet from her bag.
ペシッ。それじゃあ、改めて買ってくるね。
And without mentioning her clothes even once, she left the container again. I pressed a finger against my temple and groaned. Someone please explain that bizarre phenomena just now. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't think it ever will. Okay. Okay, yeah, so Akeno continued on, and now this is like the next day. And I guess he has a different line here because of like the delusion we have where it seemed like she changed her clothes. Come to think of it, what was up with the phenomena I'd experienced earlier? The one where Rimi had changed clothes? It felt way too... What the fetch? I see the sword! Holy crap! Okay, I know it was hidden in other seasons before, but it's way more obvious here. Like, was that there the first time? I didn't notice that at all. What the fetch? It's so obvious now. It really does feel like you could reach out and just grab it. It felt way too real to be called a hallucination. It seemed both realistic and unrealistic that Rimi had changed clothes at such lightning speed, and there was zero reason for her to do such a thing. Therefore, it must have been a delusion of mine, just like when ISA had split in two. There's the sword! That is crazy. I know people mentioned it was there, but like I felt like it probably was a lot harder to see than, like, it might be easier to see now. Oh, this is the going home walk, right? Oh. Let's do a positive one here. I can't remember what we did. Nope, I guess I did that one. Gosh darn it, me. I'm too predictable. Okay, so we've jumped a ways. This is like now post the Noah 2 activating its like the white flashing detonation that caused the earthquake, shut down all the electronics and stuff, right? So now we have this other delusion. Shogun's just chatted with us. Let's try a negative one. I doubt I picked a negative one here, so let's see what happens. Right then, as if answering my prayers, I heard a faint knocking sound come from the door.
Rimi!
It was Rimi. Rimi had actually come. My salvation having finally arrived, I headed for the door. Oh, it's not gonna be Rimi. It's gonna be Yua, right? I'm going to stop dead in my tracks.
Huh?
Why was she knocking so hard?
Rimi!
I called out to the other side of the door. The sound ceased. Silence. There's no answer. Please say something. Why aren't you saying anything?
リミ、なんでしょう。答えてよ。
Without a reply, the knocking resumed. Was it not Rimi?
誰だ。誰なんだ。
Could it be Shogun? Now that I was suspicious, all that courage I'd mustered to go to open the door had vanished. I slowly drew backward, going far enough that I ended up tripping over my chair. And as I did, the pounding on the door remained incessant. Something was knocking on it, and they weren't stopping. No, it wasn't just the door. The banging sound was coming from the walls and the ceiling too. Whoever was outside wasn't alone.
誰だよ
Unable to bear any terror any longer, I screamed out. Then, as if in response to me, the sound suddenly stopped. I wanted out, I wanted to run as far away as possible. But how? There was no doubt a group of people outside surrounding my entire container. The sound began echoing again. But this time it wasn't the sound of knocking, this time it was the horrifying sound of nails on a chalkboard. It made my skin crawl. And not being able to see the other party made it all the more terrifying. I knew it was Shogun who'd sent them, but I had no idea what they looked like. I had no idea what the person harassing me from before these lone tiny walls looked like. My entire body was covered in goosebumps, and the sheer discomfort I was feeling made me even more nauseous than I already was. I covered my ears tightly.
やめてやめてよ許してよ
Okay, I guess that's it. When I turned to my senses, I was still in front of my monitor. Shocked, I turned toward the rest of the room. I stayed still and listened carefully. I couldn't hear anything anymore. Had it been just a delusion? For more than 5 minutes, I stayed hyper alert to everything that was happening outside the container, so frightened that I couldn't even move. In the end, there wasn't any sign of anything suspicious, so I opened the door and slightly peeked outside. There was no one there. Had it really just been a delusion? Even if it had been, it was still just as anxious, and my heart was beating fast. I looked back at the monitor.
お前だな。
God, I like Senna. I want to try a green one, even if I probably did it last time. I still want to do it. But this is what she confronts us about saving ISA. Yep. Oh, yep. I definitely did this one. Dang it. I should have tried something different. Oh, hang on. So this is Suwa and Hazuki having a conversation at the hospital when they're interviewing. We got to remember, they're kind of in cahoots, right? So they're talking. So either they don't recognize each other, or they're going over a kind of like, or they're like, they either are putting on an act, or they genuinely don't know that they're both agents for the same organization. Suwa and Hazuki suddenly went silent, looked up at the ceiling. They then looked down and then stared at each other. Oh, wait a minute. If I take for any more victims. Okay. So they were talking, and I think last time it stopped here, like it went black. But now I think we're getting continued scene. Okay. So that actually kind of will make sense.
見られていたな。
Yeah, okay. So they had a whole interaction knowing that they were being observed. But now that the observation eyes are gone and they can sense it, probably by Takumi, like, you know, like the really strong one, now they're going to talk openly and frankly.
その目誰の目ね。
Suddenly, an air of familiarity was interjected into the words that the two exchanged. The sense that the two could not be anything other than old friends was loaded into every word.
西條匠のオリジナルは見つかったか。
いいえ、この病院内にいることは分かっているのに。
Right, so they're looking for him.
これ、カルテよ。彼は無遊病だわ。
In sharp contrast to how resistant she'd been to hand it over before, Hazuki readily passed the medical record to Suwa. She had already had it in her possession, as if she knew she had somehow predicted that Suwa would pay her a visit.
助かる。じゃあ予定通りに大フロントに奴を誘導して覚醒させるか。
Okay.
接触するの？
ああ、顔は隠すけどな。
Right, so because she remember she's grim, so this is talking about the Taku, not the original Takumi. With a mischievous smile, Suwa placed a gentle kiss on Hazuki's lips. That's surprising.
コスプレしてパーティーに出発だ。
They were like a thing. Interesting. What a reveal that is, actually. Makes sense, but still. It's the music. Whose phone was ringing? Oh no! It's Nanami's, isn't it? Oh, this is where we find out, like, yeah, like, was it? Cause this is where, like, it says that this is where he gets the message, like, saying, like, if you want, like, I have something that's yours. He calls her Nanami's cell phone, and the phone's ringing. Is there a positive spin to this one? Because I feel like I ignored that. Nanami still wasn't answering. Please pick up the phone already. Oh, she picked up.
ななみななみでしょ返事しろよ今どこにいるんだ大丈夫なの何か言ってななみ
実は
Huh? What the? Something weird was going on. It was almost like I was hearing Nanami not just through the phone, but from somewhere really close by too. Oh, is it gonna be like I was hiding under your bed or something?
お前一体どこにいるんだ上
My gaze wandered upward. Something was moving on top of my bed. A person. Someone was wriggling around up there, and because of how little space they had, the roque cases crumbled to the floor as they did. Don't tell me.
そこにいるの
見つかっちゃった。
My guess had been right. Nanami peeked out from atop the bed with an apologetic look on her face. Oh, had she been hiding the whole time? But since when?
何がてへだよそれより車椅子の怪しいやつに会わなかったか
As she got off the bed, I examined her from top to bottom to see if she was hurt anywhere.
鬼、ちょっと落ち着いてってば。
聞いてるんだ答えろよお前本当に大丈夫なのか
それって将軍のことだよね。
Oh, interesting.
まさ
Of course, this is a delusion, I'm sure,
あっ
but
たのかどこで何をされた
I grabbed Nanami by the shoulders, desperately pressing her for an answer. Jeez. Yes, Nanami could be a huge brat, but if Shogun had defiled her, it'd all be my fault. Shogun had put his hands on her as a means to provoke me. To him, she was just a collateral damage.
ごめん
I was so ashamed I started to cry. I was causing problems not just for myself, but for those around me. Harmless Otaku my butt. I was a failure, not just as a brother, but as a human being. I was scum, complete and utter scum.
鬼、泣いてるの？もしかして、ナナのことを心配してくれてる？
Of course he
ご
was.
めん僕のせいで
泣かないでよ。困ったな。実は、あの将軍のメール、ナナのいたずらなんだ。
Aww.
は
I couldn't process what she'd said. I was stunned.
つまり、将軍ってナナだったの。最初からずっと。
That would be
鬼
lovely.
があまりにもナナの相手してくれないから、ちょっとからかうつもりで、つい。
Oh. Man, if only this were true.
だからね、ナナは誰にも何にもされてないし、全くピーピーしてるよ。
Oh, man.
お兄が泣くことなんてないの。わかった？
お前
I was relieved. Upon learning that she deceived me, the release of all my tension and fear made me cry even harder. I couldn't believe that she'd do that to me, and I was pretty upset that she'd been screwing with me for so long, but none of that mattered right now.
ふざけんなよ
Aww.
ごめん。本当にごめんね、お兄。差し入れ持ってきたから、それで許して。
She held her hands together as if in prayer, and she apologized to me, and then she cheerfully took out a paper box that had been hidden in the corner. Inside the box were 4 tiny cakes, 2 Mount Blancs and 2 cheesecakes.
どう？美味しそうでしょ？まあ、当然だよね。ナナの手作りだもん。お兄のために作ったんだからね。
Ooh.
ほら、一緒に食べよう。
Nanami put the box on my desk and placed the 2 cakes, each 2 different paper plates, each set out. No idea where they'd come from, though.
ねえお兄、ナナのこと心配してくれてありがとう。すごく嬉しかった。お兄にもいいところあるじゃん。泣いちゃったのはちょっと情けなかったけどね。
Hey, shut your mouth, you lying, backstabbing bee. My pride had been torn to shreds. I've been deceived, betrayed, and even ended up crying. I couldn't believe how pathetic I was, how stupid I was.
でも、お兄がナナのお兄でよかった。
Aww. She smiled at me happily. It was a more peaceful sight than I was used to. How nice it would be if that was what actually happened. Yeah. Hello, reality. Here we go. Yeah, that was nothing more than just an overly confident, easy to swallow delusion of mine. Convenience. Nanami still hadn't picked up, and the sound of someone's ringtone continued to echo throughout the room. The melody was a happy-go-lucky one, something that was in a harsh contrast to my current state of mind. The sense of dread within me was growing. There was no getting around it. Nanami's phone was in this room. I couldn't think of any other explanation. I couldn't avert my eyes from reality anymore. That's so bad. Oh, wait, I had to survive these questions again. Hang on. Let me... Oh yeah, I think I remember this, like, I did the positive delusion and it still went terribly, like where they started doing terrible things to Rimi. Like we were like, Rimi's here to save us, and then they started doing awful things to her. Alright, so let's see what the negative one will be here. I'm sure it's gonna be awful too. Shogun. Oh, look at that sword. It was most likely him who had brought them here. They were all under his mind control. The scene of the ISA falling earlier today resurfaced in my mind. In the midst of a countrywide broadcast, in front of a strikingly large crowd, in front of countless people waiting for me to speak, I would be forced to jump. And once I did, it would be the prime example of how dead men tell no tales. The expert boy who planned to use his gift of clairvoyance to reveal the NewGen perpetrator was actually the culprit the entire time. Shocking conclusion, an unbelievable plot twist. The population would then complete their false narrative, one which had me leaving to my death as a way of repenting from my crimes. The curtains would close on the NewGen almost as shocking after a most shocking display. My body would smash against the concrete, my limbs would warp in unnatural directions, blood and gray matter would splatter from my crushed head. And the entire country would witness my mangled corpse. The audience wouldn't be satisfied if I didn't go to such extremes. That was what entertainment was all about. Yeah, all I had to do was die. That way it would all be happy. And not just them, I'd be happy too. Because if I were dead, I wouldn't have to go through something so painful, so frightening ever again. Time to die. The world would be better off without me. Kill yourself, Takumi. Not ha ha ha, go kill yourself. Actually kill yourself. Yeah, had the answer always been that easy? I had never felt more at ease, and all my worries melted away. And so, carrying that feeling with me, I threw myself into the open air. The nightscape of Shibuya Station spun around and around. I fell to the earth. I felt the wind rushing over me. It felt nice. Hey everyone, look, I'm a bird. Lovely.
ああ、死んじゃった。バカじゃないのこいつ。
キモい。
Oh, that's terrifying. Whoa! Oh, that audio is awful. Holy crap. Alright. Now, another problem. We have to go through these doors. I don't remember what the pattern is. I had to look it up. I saw a sword. Yes. I'm gonna try and do it. I distinctly saw a sword. Yes. If I move from here, I can take it. Yes. Nope. Okay, so I gotta try and remember this. Yes, I see a sword. I distinctly saw a sword. Yes. Right there. If I move from here, I can take it. No. Oh, because like it has to be from this perspective, right? I can see the sword from other places than here. No. It's not actually a sword. Gosh darn it. I'd seen it. Okay. I got there in the end. Sheesh. This is just about reaching for the sword, right? This is believe in the power. But Nanami.
タッキーはよくやったよ。妹を亡くした悲劇の兄として今後もやっていけるって。
Oh, no, I don't like this. A tragic big brother.
PTSD って言えば何もかも許されるっしょ。
Oh, that's so gross.
正々堂々と引きこもれるんだよ。あ、もしかしたらさ、どっかの偽善者が同情してタッキーを養ってくれるかもしんないね。ブログに適当なこと書けば出版社に目をつけられてベストセラーになっちゃうかも。
Oh my gosh.
日本中が泣いたとか白々しいキャッチコピーがつけられて、それに載せられたバカでゆとりな人たちからの感動した、共感したっていう絶賛の嵐。それで印税もガッポガッポ。半年後に映画が決定っしょ。すごいよ。ナナミッチをここで見殺しにするだけでタッキーにはバラ色の人生が待ってるんさ。
I hate this.
さあどっちを選ぶ？タッキーがここで頑張ってでも死んで全てが無になるか、バラ色の人生か。
God, I hate that influence. Alright. What haven't I brought here? This is at the hotel. I mean, the hospital. I wonder what a positive with Grim would be here. Like, what's this gonna play out as?
それにしても驚いた。
Hazuki-san's eyes widened as she moved up to study my face closely.
まさか西條さんが目覚めるなんて。
え？
She made it sound as if she hadn't expected me to wake up. Was she disappointed? Was she trying to say that the world would be better off if a piece of garbage like me just stayed asleep for the rest of my life? When she said that to me, I really did start to wish I'd never woken up. But then Hazuki-san gave me an explanation that was far different than what I'd imagined.
あなたはこの1ヶ月近くずっと昏睡状態だったんですよ。
Oh, wow.
原因不明のまま眠り続けていたんです。
What the hell? A month? When did I...
今日って。
落ち着いて聞いてくださいね。
Oh boy.
今日は10月28日です。
October 28th. That checked out, at least with what I'd remembered. Which meant that I'd been a whole month since I'd witnessed the crucifixion. I was at a loss for words.
あ、そうだ。先生に伝えないといけませんよね。こんなにのんびり検温してる場合じゃなかったわ。ここで待っていてくださいね。すぐに先生を呼んできますから。
Is this a delusion that none of the last stuff had happened? Like, we saw the crucifixion and we went in a coma and we're waking up now. It's like, it's the proper date. It's just that, oh, look, all those things that, like, you were terrified of and all those awkward moments never happened. After she finished rambling at me, Hazuki-san bolted out of the hospital room in a panic.
僕が1ヶ月昏睡状態だった。
I stared down at my palms, mumbling that to myself in a daze. That meant that everything that had happened in the past month had all been a dream. I couldn't believe I got slammed with the "it was all a dream" plot twist. But strangely enough, it didn't bother me. In fact, when she told me it was all a dream, it made everything surprisingly easy to understand. There was no such thing as D-swords or turning delusions into reality or whatever else. All fell apart the second I actually thought about it. It had been an illusion, a simple delusion I'd created. I was pretty sad that meeting Rimi had just been a dream too, but I wasn't being hunted by Shogun. I wasn't Japan's favorite punchline. And Nanami hadn't been kidnapped either. Oh, thank goodness.
よかった。
My vision blurred, but when I looked upward to hold back the tears, Hazuki-san entered the room and her eyes widened upon seeing me.
あら、西条さん、目が覚めたんですね。
A gentle smile accompanied her as she said that. My confusion rushing back, I froze.
お体の調子はどうですか？
Hazuki-san held out a thermometer to me that so naturally I couldn't help but take it.
体温を測ってくださいね。
As I took the thermometer from her, I gulped. It's the same. The exact thing from before was repeating. It was as if Hazuki-san had just walked into the hospital room for the first time. I nervously reached for the thermometer in my underarm. I was sure I'd put a thermometer in there just a minute ago, and yet there was nothing there. The thermometer had disappeared. Had it been just a delusion? When did the delusion end and reality start? Was me being hunted down by Shogun and becoming Japan's favorite punchline reality? My mood instantly took a turn for the worse. Yeah, okay, back to normal. Alright, so we're back at school and everyone's ignoring us. What had happened? Let's see. And Rimi's not here. I don't know. Let's try a positive one. I think we haven't done one of these in a bit. Nope, we did it last time. Oh, right. Right. That was awkward. And then she's like, don't think about that kind of thing again.
5分くらいなのら。
About 5 mini minutes. Let's do a positive one of here, Kazuki speaking to us in our mind and everything. I'm kind of wondering, when is the actual, like, different ending gonna play out? Especially when I keep picking the same ones I picked before. Gosh darn it, I need to do some dark ones. I think I was just so sad by all the dark things that had happened, I just started picking positive ones. Yeah, let's do a dark one. Why does Kazuki have a D sword?
だってコズピーは
With an innocent smile still on her face, Kazuki looked back at me.
将軍さんの手下だもん。
Oh no. And the gigantic snowboard-esque sword flashed as if cutting air itself to ribbons.
え
I had no idea what had just happened, but before I could even react, it was all over. Kazuki's small body embraced the D-sword, and clinging to that sword was a sticky substance, blood.
バイバイ、たくみさん。
Gosh, she's so cute as she murders us. And in that very moment, my body had been permanently disfigured. I nearly collapsed, so I tried to step forward with my right leg to stop myself. But my leg wouldn't move. The sensation in my lower body had disappeared. I felt this blistering heat around my waist.
あれ
I fell forward and I couldn't move my body. Confused as I could be, using only my hands, I pushed myself slightly upward, looking toward my body. Blood was gushing out from my sides. Slimy, protruding intestines glistened in the light. Pink flesh clung to exposed white bone. It was a body that had been bored out, one that couldn't be mine.
嘘でしょ
Unable to believe what I was seeing, I looked up at Kozupi,
ふっぴゅー。
staring at me with nothing but raw disdain in her eyes. Kozupi took the D-sword dripping with my blood, and then, almost as if she wanted me to watch, she took her adorable tongue and slowly licked away the crimson. Don't like that.
で
Yep, that. My delusion made me feel really sick. But that didn't mean the delusion wouldn't become reality. Assuming the worst, I distanced myself a little from Kozupi, preparing myself to bolt at any time. Completely oblivious to what I was feeling, Kozupi waltzed around the store like she owned the place, her footsteps light and bouncy. She didn't even attempt to try and hide her sword from the people around her, acting as if it was the most normal thing in the world. It'd been the same with Senna. She'd also been lugging around a gigantic sword in the middle of Shibuya with no regard to the people around her. Kozupi was way too calm. Even if Kozupi didn't, say, work for Shogun, she still was definitely crazy. But adorable.
よかったらどうぞ
Let's try a -1. This is probably gonna suck, but let's see. I said it with a good intention in mind, but Senna simply took one look at me before ignoring the offer. And then, for some reason, she handed me a popsicle stick instead. She made no attempt to explain herself either. I wasn't sure what she was expecting, since it wasn't exactly going to get ecstatic over losing a loose popsicle stick that didn't belong to me. Was she just silently ordering me to toss in the trash can nearby the convenience store or something? Considering it was her at all, it certainly was in the realm of possibility. Senna must have a whole host of meek male subjects that she used to do her dirty work. She's pretty much insulting me to my face, but just the thought of what she'd do if I defied her scared me so much I just bit my lip and put up with it.
私の勝ち。
Her gaze fixed on the sky that peeked between the buildings, Senna declared her supposed victory. With a sigh, I inadvertently looked down at the losing popsicle stick and gasped. Oh, what the heck was this?
先週出た渋谷限定品だ。
Okay.
ただの当たりより価値がある。
Senna had a smug expression on her face as she explained. Was she just trying to brag?
だから私の勝ち。
I do kind of like her smug smile here. Yeah, so yeah, like this expression is pretty cute. What the heck is this kind of competition she's ever won? And besides, I didn't want anything to do with these winning sticks, especially with how the poor taste they were. I was tempted to snap the stick right in half on the spot, but I swallowed back my anger and returned it to Senna.
それよりお前。
たくみさんですよ。
Are we back to normal? Yeah, we are. Alright, so I got another one here. This is when Rimi comes to our room. Let's try a -1. I feel like I need to do these because I avoided them so much. So I gotta just do them.
ああ、そうですか。そういう態度なら私、帰る。勝手にすれば。
Okay. So this is like, she comes in to like chat with us. After like, obviously we're getting a better idea about the D swords and everything, but this is the first time we've seen her in a while. I sensed Rimi stand up behind me. When I turned around in surprise, she was already heading toward the door. I hurriedly called out to stop her, but I was too flustered to get the words out. Right then, Rimi stopped and looked over her shoulder.
妹さんのこと、心配。
どうしてそれを。
I hadn't spoken a single word to her about Nanami.
独り言、ブツブツ言ってたから。ねえ、私と妹さん、どっちが大事？
Oh, fetch me. Oh gosh, that's not fair. But especially considering the fact that he barely still kind of knows you, he might have a crush on you at this point. I'd still say your sister. Oh god, the world's worst question to ever get asked for the win. Why are women out there who just love asking nasty questions like that, even though there's no way you could possibly answer them? It was like they were reveled in completely disregarding the other person's feelings. They only thought of themselves. I'd never expected to hear those words in real life. This is exactly what made 3D girls so repulsive. So in the end, Rimi was just another one of those girls who thought like that, huh? No actual brain cells in there to think any other way. To put it bluntly, I was disappointed. I was a fool for thinking I could trust her. I'd always known 3D was no match for 2D. It was a long time. It was time I gave up on hanging out with Rimi for good. Having lost every ounce of interest I had in Rimi all at once, I let out an exasperated sigh. I couldn't be bothered trying to stop her from leaving. Really, I wanted her to leave as soon as possible. And yet, Rimi then went on to do something completely unexpected.
答えて。私か、妹さんか、どっちか選んで。
Uh-oh. Suddenly, she took out something resembling a fruit knife from her bag, and then she thrust it toward her own wrist. Oh, fetch me! I was completely dumbfounded. I started trembling in terror.
私を選んで。私だけを見て。
So she's going yandere mode, huh? Was she threatening me? Had this been her true nature all along? Could this be that she was some fetching insane mental case the entire time?
お願い。私を見てよ。
君は僕だけを見てくれてないじゃないか。
In the heat of the moment, I'd given a serious non-crap post response, even though everyone knew you shouldn't go along with the stuff psychopaths say, especially if it was a threat. I'd regretted it the moment it came out of my mouth, but it was too late.
見てるよ。
Rumi's voice was ice cold. Her eyes were bloodshot, her curved lips in a cruel smile.
だから、邪魔者は排除するの。あなたの妹をさらったのも、私だし。
Right. Yeah, Yandere, you're kidding.
タクに選んでもらうためなら、私、こんなことだってするよ。
And then Rimi pressed the knife against her wrist and slowly began to draw it to the right.
やめろ
Jeez.
やめろって何が
When I came back to my senses, I was looking at my monitor and I heard Rimi's inquisitive voice come from behind me. I hurriedly turned around only to see her still sitting on the sofa. She was holding a manga in her hand and was giving me a puzzled look.
タク、顔色悪いけど、どうかしたの？
うん。
Why had that all been a delusion? God, that was so fetched up.
メールだよボケナス
Forgot about the email.
今の何？
いや。
Wait a second. Rimi just heard my serotonin notification tone. Oh, God, how embarrassing. Alright, the hospital room had an aura around 10 square meters. So this is like the room where she's gone. I don't know. Gonna try green again.
どこ行ったんだ
Okay, wait, so we didn't do this one. Alright.
さあ。
戻ってくるまで待つか。
The moment he said that, Misumi-kun started rummaging around the room for some reason. He didn't even have a shred of decency. Right now, it wouldn't be wrong to refer to this as Ayase's room. A number of her things were lying around, and mixed with them the smell of antiseptic was a nice scent you could only find in a girl's room. Kind of bursting in while she wasn't there felt like we were peeping right into her private life. I didn't feel very comfortable with that.
そういうの良くないよ。外で、待ってた方が。
ちょっと見るだけだって。お前も知りたいと思わねえのか S の私生活ってやつをよ。興味あるだろ
Okay, sure. Ayase's personal life was my total mystery. Surely a quick glance wouldn't be so bad. Misumi-kun wasn't showing even an ounce of hesitation. Urged by his bold attitude, my mind swiftly changed. I turned to look at the door to make sure no one was coming, then turned back toward the room. Feeling my heart thump in my heart in my chest, I started with the bed, took hold of the slightly ruffled sheets. And then, having no idea what to expect, I gently turned them over, and what I saw was something beyond imagination. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Hidden beneath the sheets was lingerie, a full set of lingerie. A pair of purple panties were scrunched up haphazardly. They had very clearly been taken off recently. This wasn't brand new condition. This was entirely used. And then there's a private room. From that, one could only glean that Ayase was the only one who could have worn these. So smexy. Oh no. I hurriedly turned the cheek on Misumi-kun. Fortunately, he was too busy flipping through a magazine to have noticed my shocking discovery. Don't do it. Don't do it. I returned my glance to the underwear. I gulped. My throat was dry as the desert. My trembling fingers, almost entirely on their own, reached toward the underwear. Feeling my pulse getting quicker and quicker, I ever so softly touched them. It's just underwear, dude. Come on. For some reason, they felt squishy, physical. Something wasn't quite right about this.
それは私のお稲荷さんだ。
Oh. Oh no! Uno reverse!
見ろよ、タク。変な本があるぞ。
I suddenly realized Misumi-kun was calling me. I was standing in the corner of the hospital room. The bed sheets weren't turned over, and there was obviously no sexy lingerie in sight. Whew, it's been such a delusion, huh? It ended with an extremely horrifying twist, so I made sure that memory remained forever sealed. Yeah, thank goodness for that. Okay, honestly, I want to keep going, but recording as of now is almost 2 hours. I'm running out of time again. And so while I'm not happy with this, we've made tons of progress. What chapter was we're in RR2? Because like this is like it's like as we were flashing our way up here, this is where Kozapi and Senna sneak into Takumi's room and find like the notebook that has IR2 in it. And so we're gonna go back to our home and get ambushed. So like we're really far along already. We made a lot of progress today, but I gotta have to stop here. It's unfortunate because again, I wanted to get to like the start of whatever the chapter that we're gonna get is, but I'm not sure if we are gonna be able to know until I get back from my vacation, which sucks. I didn't want to leave it hanging quite that long, but I just don't have more time. Like I really, like as I'm recording this, I'm leaving like tomorrow. I don't have time to record more. So this is just gonna be where it ends. Sorry about that. I know we'll get back to it as soon as we can, but it is what it is. The delusions we explored were pretty fun. I'm also like horrifically unable to remember which choices I made, but given how many options there are for delusions, I probably should be impressed that I've chosen enough new paths to make a whole video out of it. And yeah, I guess we'll have to see. Man, what a day. But it's been fun. I'm looking forward to get to the point where we get to see like more come out of this, but for now we're gonna have to wait and just kind of chill. Hope you have a great few weeks. I'm gonna go take my vacation. I really need. It's gonna be a lot of fun to go see family and just kind of relax. I might try and do some writing or some storyboarding on my own. Basically, for my own writing ideas, I've got like kind of 2 or 3 like actual novelizations I have in mind. And whether they would be better as books or visual novels, like I think I'm better writing books because that's what I've like practiced, but I'd love to make a visual novel. Like the 3 ideas I've got are pretty cool. There's a sci-fi one I've had forever. In fact, like it's where the the end cards that I've had artists make for my various games, like including the one at the end of this video. It's technically supposed to be a rendition of me along with like my two main characters that were originally from that sci-fi series. Which I thought would be really fun to do. There's a slice of life idea I've had for a while that I think would be really workable, especially in a visual novel. And then there's a fantasy story that I recently got really excited about. And that one like would make probably more sense being a book, but it's definitely a really fun concept. And conceptually, I think it's the most exciting one. That has the most potential, but what I really just need to do is commit to one and just start actually writing it. So, yeah, we'll have to just see what I can do. But anyway, thank you all so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed yourselves. I certainly am grateful for you, especially patrons and members. Keep in mind, if you're a patron or member, I'm going to try and do an exclusive kind of mini patron cast while I'm on vacation. Not sure exactly when or how. Like, for instance, I can definitely make the recording while on vacation, but I wouldn't be able to edit it very well, so there's a good chance I wouldn't even be able to publish it until I got back home. So we'll see, but keep an eye out for that. Like, hopefully I'll have at least something. I'll try and maybe post some interesting pictures as well. Again, they'll be like after the events transpire, because I don't want it to be easy to trace where I'm going per se, but I do think it'd be fun to share some highlights of my vacation with you, so I'll probably do that. But yeah, it should be interesting. Anyway, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you all, and I'm grateful that you're spending your time on the channel. If, like I said at the beginning, if you're like running out of time, maybe you miss watching my uploads and like you want something to do, there's a backlog that's really great. Highly recommend Seabed. If you haven't ever read that one, just a really good visual novel made by a small group of people, but like top-notch creating, writing, and everything. Love's really good. If you haven't read that one, Katawa Sojo's on the channel. Not a lot of people know that. I have challenge series like the Baldur's Gate series that just had an episode drop, and I've also got older ones like Knights of the Republic 1 and 2. Those are some of my favorite playthroughs I've ever done, period. But they also are some of the least successful ones on the channel. So, I'd love to throw you that way and see what you think of those. But yeah, it is what it is. If not, thank you for your patience. Looking forward to posting again as soon as I get back. But until the next video you're watching me, or happen to see me in next. I'll see you there.